Ekblad has it. He moves in. Aaron Ekblad cuts in and shoots. He scores. What a goal! Aaron Ekblad makes it 3-1 with a beauty.
Welcome to Project Panthers, a weekly podcast discussing your Florida Panthers. Now, here's your host, Brunswick.
What a week, what a week, what a week. I am your host, Brunswick. The show is Project Panthers, and oh baby, what a week it's been in Panthers territory. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you found me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other major podcast platform out there on the World Wide Web by searching Project Panthers. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook by searching Project Panthers. And remember to send your questions, comments, or queries to projectpantherspod@gmail.com. The Panthers returned home after their extended break and a short 3-game road trip to find themselves with a 35-13-5 record. Still sitting first in the Atlantic Division, but Tampa Bay and Toronto, they're both gaining ground on the Cats quickly. Were the South Florida boys able to build off their most impressive road victories this season, or will they limp their way back onto home ice? Judging by the title of this week's episode, you probably already know the answer to that question, so let's see how we got here. As mentioned, the Panthers returning home after a successful 3-game road trip where we saw them take 6 of 6 points, including 2 ginormous wins in Carolina and Minnesota. This is the first game of a 5-game homestand for the Cats, and it's against their fellow felines, the Nashville Predators. Predators struggling a bit lately, having lost their last 4 straight games heading into this one. Slight lineup change for the Cats as Maxim Mamin has been activated off the injured reserve. He's slotted on the top line with Verhaeghe and Barkov, a line that has has experienced some nice spurts of success throughout their time together this season. Unfortunately, with Mamin coming off the IR, this results in someone having to ride the pine, and that someone is Owen Tippett. He was loaned out to Charlotte to play some games with the Checkers. Not surprising in the least bit, as OT hasn't really played since the Carolina game, a game in which he only logged 7 minutes and 50 seconds of ice time. So not surprising to see him try to get the team try to get him more reps in the AHL. Noel Acciari also sitting this one out. Same defensive pairs as the last chunk of games, with Lucas Carlson continuing to have a main spot in the Panthers lineup. Something I've been personally calling out for since the first few games. I don't think the Panthers have a better option in that 6th defenseman role, considering Nunavara is out still. I don't know where he is at this point, but he's not available. I think he's been the most complete option for the Florida in the number 6 spot. I really do. Sergei Bobrovsky also back in goal for his 4th straight start. Predators countering with David Riddick, giving the sensational UC Saros the night off against one of the best offenses in the NHL. Panthers, they come out flying with 5 of the first shot attempts, including a nifty move by Anthony Duclair that Riddick gets a pad on to keep the game scoreless. But man, if Duke finished this one off, it would have been on a highlight reel for the rest of the season. Cats draw the first penalty of the game when Granlund goes to the box for holding. He holds Barkov back in the corner on a little bit of a lazy play from him. A minute into the power play, Sam Reinhart takes a Huberdeau pass in the corner, walks in front of Riddick, and snipes it off the post and in for the early 1-0 lead. That's Reinhart's 18th goal of the season, 6th goal in as many games for Rhino. Nice little run for him. Cats at one point leading in the shots 11-2, but that doesn't stop Nashville from trying to counter. The Preds finally get some time in the Panther zone about 12 minutes into the game, and after a scramble in the front of the net, Philip Forsberg pounces on a loose puck and gets it past a sprawled out Bobrovsky, who had previously made 2 big stops before conceding this goal. And not long after, the Preds draw a rare penalty from Alexander Barkov, just his 4th minor penalty of the season. Cats, they do manage to kill it off without much harm done, but the Predators are definitely back in this game after a lethargic start by the boys from Nashville. Period ends tied at 1 with shots a lot more even, with 14-3, Florida having the advantage at 14-3. Just a couple minutes into the second period, though, the Butcher, he finally gets one off a face-off win. Radko Gudas rolls into the middle of the ice and throws a puck on net, and somehow it beats Riddick for his first goal of the season. First goal scored in 57 games played. Big-time celebration from Gudas and the boys on the bench. Everyone was loving this goal. It's great when one of your boys on your team scores a goal who's not really known for scoring. It sort of becomes a moment of talking, some jokes thrown around in the locker room, yada, yada, yada. But everyone just wants to see him succeed. So when he finally gets that goal, trust me, it is jubilation for everyone. A couple minutes after the goal, Bobrovsky makes a nice save before getting lucky when Sissons misses a wide open net. Then he gets handcuffed on a wrist shot opportunity that thankfully for Sergei, it bounces off the goal post and out. So a bit of a shaky second period for Bobrovsky. Predators keep up the pressure, but the Panthers are matching it, and about halfway through the second period, Aaron Ekblad makes a great individual effort to grab the puck mid-air in his own zone. He drops it to himself, gains the Nashville zone, gets around the Nashville defender before sending a wrister past Riddick to make it 3-1 Panthers. That's Ekblad's fourth goal in as many games and his 14th tally of the season. But a minute later, the Cats get caught watching the puck in their own zone, leaving Roman Josi with a ton of space as he one-times Matt Duchene's pass for his own 14th goal of the season. And we are very quickly back to a one-goal game, just 3-2 Panthers. Not even a minute later, the Predators break through again when Yakov Trenin, he takes a pass right up the middle of the ice and he splits the D and backhands it past Bobrovsky. And just like that, we got a tie game. Panthers get called for roughing with 5 minutes to go in the period, but the best chance on the 2-minute penalty actually goes to Alexander Barkov on a shorthanded breakaway that he fails to convert. Cats get a power play of their own late in the second, generating a ton of chances in front of the Predators' net, but none of them go in, and the second stanza ends tied at 3. A very, very tight checking third period. Panthers get a couple of quality chances early on, but after that, the game really clogs up in the neutral zone. We've seen this game from Nashville before. They're a bruising team that can go into the corners and battle all night long. They're big. They're tough. They do not lay down easily, and in this third period, they are keeping the Panthers to the perimeter and not really giving them much at all in their own zone. But eventually, they get a little bit of luck when Sam Bennett pokes at a puck that David Riddick was trying to cover. It slides in past him, and the Panthers retake the lead 4-3 on Bennett's 22nd goal of the season. But just as the goal is being announced through the Florida Live Arena, the Predators score their own scramble goal in front of the net when Luke Kunin manages to get a stick on a loose puck in the blue paint. It gets past Bobrovsky, and the Predators tie it up mere seconds after the Panthers' goal to take the lead. Or do they? Oh, that's right. That's right. The Panthers are the ones challenging a goal this time, saying Kunin interfered with Bobrovsky by pushing him down with a stick. The replay looks pretty convincing, and the referees agree. They call this one back. The Cats maintain their 4-3 lead for now. Panthers get a power play after the disallowed goal, but the Predators get their their own shorthanded breakaway this time. And this time Tanner Jeannot converts on the breakaway, does what Barkov couldn't do, and scores the goal. We are back tied up at 4. Just Nashville's fourth shot of the period ties the game for them. Jeannot, just on this play, he just kind of willed his way to the goal. We've seen the Panthers' defensive struggles with the big forwards that the Predators possess. We saw it last year, and we're seeing it again this year. They play that physical style that counters the skill that the Panthers rely on the back end. Besides Gudas, there really isn't a big bruising guy back there. We've seen Weegar throw some hits. Montour can throw a couple of hip checks I've seen, but they aren't really a big, tough group back there. And a team like Nashville with a big, tough group of forwards can kind of bully your defense around if you let them. It's a great tactic in the NHL. It really is. Late in the third period, Sir Samuel of House Bennett, he takes a poor penalty in the Nashville zone, 200 feet away from his own net as he cross-checks the Preds defender, resulting in a 2-minute minor. It's a very ill-timed penalty for Bennett. We've seen these from him before. And the Predators, they score almost immediately on the power play. When Michael Granlund picks up a loose puck in front of the net, it gets past Bobrovsky to give Nashville their first lead of the game. I talked about the importance of special teams on last week's show, and here we are in the first game of this week, and the Panthers get burned badly. First by giving up a shorthanded goal, and then followed by a power play goal, all in the third period. These weak penalties, they cannot happen if your PK is not up to the task. Really disappointed from Bennett. Again, we have come to expect this sort of thing from him. It doesn't make it any easier to deal with. The Panthers, they get desperate and pull Bobrovsky with over 3 minutes to go, down a goal. They put everything they can into trying to tie this one up, but after about 90 seconds and some decent opportunities, Tanner Jeannot picks up the puck in the neutral zone, and he shoots it home for his second goal of the period, 6-4 Nashville. And the Florida Panthers' home winning streak has come to an end. 6-4 is your final. Panthers lose their first game on home ice in the calendar year of 2022. David Riddick played great throughout the game despite giving up 4 goals. He made 44 saves in the victory. Nashville, they just wanted it more in that third period. They played tight and hungry in those last 20 minutes, and that was the difference in this one. Panthers back home for Game 2 of their 5-game homestand, taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have won 8 of their last 10 games coming into this one, playing some really great hockey. Jackets also looking to enact some revenge on the Cats as Florida has outscored them 17-6 over their last 2 meetings. That is a memory burned into their skulls, I'm sure. A couple of lineup changes for interim head coach Andrew Brunette. Oli Uolevi gets back into the lineup as Lucas Carlson takes a seat for some reason. I'm not, whatever, I guess, sure. And Jonas Johansson, he makes his first start as a Florida Panther. I put a poll up before Tuesday's game to see if we would ever see Johansson in a Panthers uniform. And, well, the next game, here we are. Personally, I was excited to see what the big Swedish keeper can do in a Cats uniform. I was. Scouting report hasn't been very favorable of him, but this group has done a really admirable job of turning guys' careers around. Maybe this is another one of those examples. Also, Frank Vetrano finally gets back into the lineup after not playing for a little while, hoping to earn back a regular roster spot, I'm sure. I would love to see more from Frankie down the stretch. He scored some clutch goals for the Cats last year, and it would be a huge boost for the team as they head to the playoffs if he could find his offensive game again. This one starts with a ton of flow. Very different from that third period against Nashville. The team's playing 7 consecutive minutes of non-stop hockey, and then not long after, we get Alexander Barkov going around the Columbus net and finding Mackenzie Weegar alone on the other side. He shoots it past JF Berube, and the Panthers give Jonas an early 1-0 lead. Cats get a power play not long after the goal, but the Blue Jackets look good on the penalty kill and build some momentum off of it as they start coming at the Panthers a little bit more offensively. One of their best chances is a great one when Patrick Laine beats Barkov to the net and takes a pretty pass from Jakub Voracek, and he actually beats Johansson to tie the game up. Laine continues to be red hot for the Blue Jackets, scoring his 13th goal in his last 10 games. 13 goals in 10 games. That is a filthy run by Patrick Laine. Nice to see him finding his career again in Columbus. Cats got a power play late in the first. The transfer's over to the start of the second period, but the Jackets kill it off with ease. Not a lot generated by the Panthers on this man advantage either. Blue Jackets really up in their play in the second period, moving their feet much better, and they finally gain the Florida zone with some time and space, and they don't hesitate to use it as Boone Jenner redirects a Gavrikov shot, and the Columbus captain puts the Blue Jackets up 2-1. Johansson looking decent in net, but nothing he could really do on this one. Another point shot redirection against the Panthers, something that we've seen the teams do a lot in this league. And listen, that's a strategy in the NHL all across the board, but I think the Panthers struggle with this more than other teams. And if I'm the opposition, this is something that I'm trying to do all the time. Sam Reinhart, he gets the best chance for the Cats in a while, getting a partial break on Berube, but Jack Roslovic does a really, really surprisingly good job of disrupting him on the play with a back check and doesn't take a penalty. Rhino fails to convert on the chance. The Panthers do start generating some more pressure after that Reinhart chance. The Blue Jackets in the Blue Jackets zone, but they are not getting a ton of quality looks. It's a combination of the Blue Jackets playing some strong man-on-man defense, along with the Panthers looking like they're trying a bit too hard with the fancy passes and plays in the offensive zone. But Brunette, he pulls out the old Huberdeau Barkov line to try and spark a goal for the Cats, and they don't get a goal, but what they do get is another power play opportunity. But unfortunately, it's much of the same on this man advantage. Passes not connecting, shots missing the net, just not performing on the level we're used to seeing this offense do. The best chance in the power play goes to Boone Jenner on the shorthander breakaway. Common theme on this episode. That Johansson makes a huge right pad save on to keep the Panthers in it. Second period ends with the Jackets still up 2-1, but down in shots 25-18. Cats, they get nothing to start the third period on the remainder of the power play. Columbus just absolutely suffocating every player that enters the zone trying to carry the puck. The Blue Jackets counter with some more pressure, and they pounce on a defensive gaffe by the Panthers. The puck gets out front to defenseman Gabriel Carlson, and he one-times it home through Johansson's legs to make it 3-1 Jackets. Johansson needs to come up with a better effort on that play, but I can't exactly praise the team in front of him at that point. This was a scrambled play that seemed like no one knew what was happening. Tough to watch. Brunette continues to shuffle the lines around, desperately trying to spark something from his offense, and wouldn't you know it, the top line gets one back when Mason Marchment dumps the puck in for a change. Barkov beats Gavrikov to the puck, and it bounces off the end boards. He chooses to lift Gavrikov's stick instead of touching the puck, allowing it to slide in front to a wide-open Huberdeau, who dekes it past Berube's pad to cut the lead to 3-2. The comeback Cats have been activated. Such a slick play from Barkov in this one. The race to the puck, instead of choosing to play the puck and maybe have to make a half-moon sort of adjustment on the skates or, make a drop pass, he instead reads the momentum of the puck coming off the boards, chooses to lift Gavrikov's stick, leaving him completely out of the play. He takes Gavrikov into the corner with him. Huberdeau is all alone in front and finishes the opportunity. Beautiful little goal. But yeah, it's comeback Cats time, right? Is it? They get a power play not long after that goal. But once again, they get nothing. A couple of chances, but they fail to convert. They don't have that same urgency there. It's just not there right now. And that's a shame because the Blue Jackets come right back. And on their first chance after the penalty is killed, Cole Sillinger gets some space after a nice little play by Jacob Voracek. He beats Johansson under his arm. This was not a great goal from Johansson. Not a great goal. I think a very stoppable shot. There was no deflection. He was square to the shooter. Sillinger just beat him. But again, the Panthers weren't exactly on top of things defensively. They weren't. They left Johansson out to dry. And yeah, he could have made the save, but Sillinger was basically, he had a clean look on him. At him. It's not up to par for solid defensive play. And speaking of not on top of things defensively and not playing up to par, just 10 seconds after the Cole Sillinger goal, Justin Danforth throws one on net from the blue line, and it also gets past Johansson. It's suddenly a 5-2 game. The entire building is stunned. It seems out of reach for the Panthers with how they're playing in this one. This is another bad goal by Johansson. This kind of, I would say two. 2 of the 5 goals so far were Johansson's fault. He could have had them. But again, I stress the defense in front of him not performing well, not playing solid, not getting the job done. Andrew Brunette pulls Johansson with just under 9 minutes to go, pulling a bit of a card out of Minnesota's playbook that we saw last week. The Panthers do get a ton of pressure with the 6-on-5 advantage, finally doing a great job of moving the puck around, something we haven't seen all game. They do try to find a lane, but there is nothing getting to the net other than weak outside shots, something we've seen all game. Blue Jackets completely clogging the middle of the ice, but the Panthers eventually they bowl their way through with Barkov throwing it on net, and after a great battle in front won by Huberdeau, Bennett picks up a rebound, backhands it home past Berube. It's 5-3. Cats finally finding some life in this one. But Panthers make a glaring mistake not long after. Instead of letting the boys play a bit down by 2, Brunette, for some reason, elects to pull Johansson again. And this time the Blue Jackets just skate with the puck past the red line and snipe it into the gaping 4x6 to restore the 3-goal lead. We literally just saw Minnesota make this mistake against the Panthers last week. There was plenty of time on the clock for the Panthers to get one more goal and then maybe pull the goalie with 2 minutes left to try and tie it up. But to give the Blue Jackets that long with an empty net, you're just asking for them to score at some point. I don't really understand this. This was a baffling coaching decision, in my opinion. It killed all the momentum that 5-3 goal gave you. Very frustrating from a fan standpoint. Panthers, they get nothing going for the remainder of the time. Bennett, he does throw a monster hit in the corner on Cole Sillinger. Clean hit, though. Necessary, I don't know, but clean. Cats, they do outshoot the Blue Jackets 42-28, but they lose 6-3. Their second straight loss at home. Game 3 of 5 on the homestand and the final game of the week for the Panthers saw them taking on the Edmonton Oilers, who themselves are fresh off a coaching change and suddenly playing a bit better hockey as they make the push for the playoffs down the stretch. A 12:30 start for this one, and I got to be honest, I love afternoon hockey. Reminds me of when I was a kid and I'd be home from my Saturday morning hockey game. I'd be settled in and showered by then, ready for lunch and to turn on whatever game was on that afternoon. Unfortunately, living on the east coast of Canada, it was usually a Bruins game, but I was just happy to be watching hockey. Anyway, enough of nostalgia. Cats looking to bounce back from 2 straight home losses for the first time since December 16th. Interim head coach Andrew Brunette goes back to Bobrovsky in goal after a bit of an off night for Johansson in his Florida debut. Lucas Carlson also factoring back into the lineup, thank you, with the Oliu Levy returning to the press box. Brunette switching the lines around again for this game, moving Mason Marchment up to the top line with Carter Verhaeghe and Alexander Barkov in that ever-evolving right-wing slot on the first line. This is a line that we saw a lot of last season, so hopefully they find some chemistry, although I do question Brunette's decision to break up Marchment, Lundell, and Reinhart. Line was absolute fire. I don't know why you would split them up, but I digress. The Panthers start out strong in this one, generating some decent opportunities and really limiting their opponent's chances. It wasn't until around the 9-minute mark that the Edmonton Oilers got their first shot on goal, but the Oil remind us that hockey is a game that can really change quickly. They do a great job winning a board battle in their own zone and break out smoothly from their own blue line. And Warren Foegele and Derek Ryan quickly find themselves on a 2-on-1 against Brandon Montour. Foegele outweights Montour, who tries to block the pass but does not do a really great job of it. The puck gets over Montour's stick to Ryan, who slides it between Bobrovsky's pads, puts the Oilers up 1-0 on just their third shot of the game. Just moments after the Oilers take the lead, Connor McDavid gets open for a breakaway, but a combination of Bob making a save and McDavid bobbling the puck keeps the score at 1-0. That is not the guy you want all alone on a breakaway, but we'll take it, I guess. Panthers fortunate after that gaffe in concentration after giving up the goal. After a TV timeout, the Panthers get it back by smothering the Oilers in their own zone. Lundell forces a turnover off an Oilers breakout. Reinhart takes it down low and throws it in front. Vetrano makes a gorgeous behind the back through the legs pass to Anton Lundell, who buries his 12th goal of the season to tie the game up. The rest of the period was mostly all Panthers, dominating shots and eventually drawing a penalty for their efforts. Just 17 seconds into the power play, Barkov pounces on an Anthony Duclair shot that deflects off the post, then Koskinen and onto Barkov's stick for his 24th goal of the season, 2-1 Panthers, and that's where the first period ends with the Cats leading in shots 18-7. Panthers start with a flurry in the second period. Huberdeau making a couple of strong plays on the boards that leads to a couple of chances early on. Huberdeau's so strong on the corner these days. I gotta be honest. Remember back when we were concerned about his size when he was drafted, and there was that one summer that he put on some muscle, and then everyone was finally a bit relieved. But we never really saw him using that muscle until someone came along. Now imagine being told this is how the guy plays these days. He's so strong on his feet and can battle with anyone in the league, in my opinion. Honestly, I think he can battle with anyone. Strength, like pound for pound, he can beat anyone in a puck battle in the corner these days. It's developed into one of his strongest assets, in my opinion, and you can tell he learned a lot from Jaromir Jagr during his time here. I'd say the most underrated facet of Huberdeau's game these days is his board play. His ability to win puck battles is incredible. It really is. Anyways, enough gushing. Cats take a bench minor for too many men less than a minute into the second period. But on the penalty kill, Florida actually gets the best chance. It's, again, the theme of the podcast, getting chances shorthanded. But Lundell and Barkov, they fail to convert on the shorthanded 2-on-1. Another theme for the Panthers this week. Panthers managed to kill it off, though, a few minutes after Connor McDavid takes a tripping call on Verhaeghe that shakes Cardi V up, but he seems to be all right, thankfully. Cats, they also failed to score on their man advantage opportunity, despite a Barkov breakaway somewhere in the 2 minutes. But the shots sit at 27-10 in favor of the Panthers. Cats doing a great job of limiting the Oilers' chances to off the rush, not allowing Edmonton any sustained pressure in the offensive zone, but that doesn't always equal success. As on a delayed penalty call, the Oilers catch the Panthers puck watching. Radko Gudas cheats too much to his opposite side, and Derek Ryan takes advantage of this extra space. He receives a nice little pass as he enters the zone and rips it over Bobrovsky's glove for his second of the game. We're tied at 2. And just 90 seconds after the Oilers tied it up, Mackenzie Weegar takes a penalty that gives the second best power play in the NHL another opportunity. And this time, they make it count. Leon Draisaitl tees up a shot from the hash marks and beats Bobrovsky with ease. Oilers up 3-2 on just their 12th shot of the game. And in less than 3 minutes, the Panthers go from leading 2-1 to down 3-2. Draisaitl scores his 36th goal of the season. He's right up there in the league. He's behind 1 goal behind Austin Matthews for the league lead. Honestly, the Panthers aren't even playing really bad right now in this game. Their defensive gaffes are few and far between and really not that detrimental. They just aren't getting the save from Bobrovsky right now. And while Koskinen is keeping his team in it, he's outplaying Bobrovsky big time. Panthers get a late power play in the second period, but again, fail to convert despite more sustained pressure and decent puck movement. The Cats get a definitely not the Pats. The Cats get a glorious chance to tie it on a 2-on-1 with a minute left in the second period. Lundell gets it over to Marchment, but Koskinen once again denies with the blocker, and the Oilers go the other way, right back. They catch the Panthers off guard again on the rush, and with a 4-on-2 chance, Evander Kane finds Derek Ryan streaking it to the net, and he scores his 3rd goal of the afternoon, first career hat trick for Derek Ryan, and the Oilers take a 4-2 lead with 6 seconds left to go in the second period. Another miscommunication from the Panthers defensively off the rush, completely losing their players and not adjusting to what Edmonton is throwing their way. They will need to dig deep to tie this game up in the third period. But the Panthers can't get much going to start the third. Just about 7 minutes into the period, Lomberg draws a cross-checking penalty on Evander Kane. So the Panthers, they have a chance to try and breathe some new life into this game and get back into it once again. But once again, they fail to get much going. Again, they get a couple of decent looks from the net, but nothing particularly dangerous. Just not that same level of urgency with the man advantage. But not long after the power play expires, Carter Verhaeghe finds himself alone on a breakaway. But Koskinen is there again. He robs him with the glove and keeps his team up by 2. Cats continue to pepper Koskinen, but he makes some great saves before the Panthers draw yet another penalty with under 5 minutes left in the game. Off the draw, the Panthers get a glorious chance for Duclair, but he gets stopped. Rebound goes to Huberdeau. He finds Barkov with the cross-ice pass, and he scores his 2nd goal of the afternoon, and suddenly it's a 4-3 game. Huberdeau extends his point streak to 10 games with an assist on the play. Burnett pulls Bob with over 2 minutes to go. Panthers get a ton of pressure in the Oilers zone, but none of the chances manage to connect, and the Edmonton Oilers hang on for the 4-3 victory. Panthers lose their 3rd game in a row at home in regulation for the first time since December 14th, 2019. So that's it. After one of the highest points of the season, winning those 3 games on the road in Carolina, Minnesota, and Chicago, we've hit easily the lowest point so far of the Florida Panthers 2021-22 campaign. Losing 3 straight games against teams that are definitely beatable is disappointing, to say the least. I think Nashville was the best of the bunch to come to town, and they didn't get it done against any of them. They've allowed 16 goals in those 3 home games, which is the biggest concern in my opinion. This team is really doing a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde impersonation. With how differently they look on the road in comparison to their recent home performances, you don't know what kind of team you're going to get. You really don't. Some may call it bad luck. The team didn't exactly struggle to put up shots and play an offensive game, but we did see some great goaltending performances this week from Rittich, Berube, and Koskinen. You got to give those guys credit. Is it time to hit the panic button? No, definitely not. They are still in first place. But this is adversity, and adversity is a good thing for great teams to face. It gives you a moment of reflection. See how you can improve individually and as a group. One thing I think this does prove is that this team does need a little bit of help come trade deadline day. If the move is to keep Spencer Knight down in the AHL so he can have consistent playing time and get used to hockey at the pro level, then so be it. I have absolutely no issues with that move. I think it's good for Knight to get his reps in, wherever they are. But if that is the case, the Panthers need a backup goaltender for Bobrovsky. Johansson wasn't as much of a disaster in net as Twitter would have you believe. The team did break down in front of him at least a few times. But it's still clear that he just isn't up to snuff to back up a goaltender like Bobrovsky. The reason I say the phrase, a goaltender like Bobrovsky, is that, well, we've all seen Bobrovsky fold in on himself at times. His struggles with confidence have been very obvious with the Florida Panthers. At the start of the season, it seemed like Bob was back in Vezina form, but since the first couple of months or so, he's slowly been regressing back to his usual numbers in the Panthers uniform. Again, he isn't anywhere near as bad as he was in his first season with the Cats, but there are signs of him, quote-unquote, coming back down to earth. I think a capable, experienced backup should be high on Bill Zito's list this year. There's going to be at least a few names floating around as available this season. Braden Holtby comes to mind, as well as Craig Anderson. Personally, I'd love to see Anderson back in a Panthers uniform. Andy is still putting up some solid numbers, even behind a struggling Buffalo Sabres team. He was lights out here during his time with the Cats, and that was, almost 10 years ago at this point. But I think he would gel well with this group and provide Bobrovsky with some insurance. And the fact that he really is coming in to back him up and not take Bob's job, that's a confidence booster for Bob, I think. Lets him sort of play his game. Plus, I assume the cost would be nothing more than a draft pick for a 40-year-old keeper like Craig Anderson. But not just a goalie, though. As I've preached on this podcast many, many a times before, I still believe this group needs one more top four defenseman to really put them over the hump to be a true Stanley Cup contender. And no, I don't want Jacob Chikrin. I've made my feelings quite clear about him in this show. If you don't remember, go back and listen to episode 24 of this podcast, where I outline my issues with acquiring the South Florida native. But I do think there are serviceable guys out there, and I don't want Ben Sherratt. Please, Zito, for the love of Christ, stay as far away as possible from Sherratt. The guy stinks. But I do like the idea of bringing in someone like Mark Giordano or Hampus Lindholm. I think both guys bring experience and the type of ability and gameplay that the Panthers need on the blue line. I know Giordano would love a chance at the Cup, and his veteran presence would be a great, great element for this group. Having someone slot in and allow Gudas to move down to the bottom pairing suddenly makes this team a lot better defensively. I don't think General Manager Bill Zito needs to do a lot to improve this team. They are already pretty damn good. We've seen a lot of it this year. But to pull a Tampa and make a couple of moves to shore up some weaknesses within your group is definitely the move, in my opinion. I'm really excited to see what old Billy Z has in store for us on the March 21st trade deadline as it fast approaches. We are just about 3 weeks away. But that's it for the show this week. I am Brunswick. Thank you again for tuning into another installment of Project Panthers. The Cats are back in action on Thursday night against the Ottawa Senators, a team that dummied them 8-2 on home ice back in December. Granted, the Cats weren't exactly icing their entire roster due to COVID issues, but these Senators are no pushover. They have a good young team that is poised to take the next step, so the Panthers will have to be ready for them. Speaking of good young teams poised for success, the Red Wings are in town after the Senators before Florida heads back on the road for a mini 2-game road trip to Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Hoping to see the Cats bounce back from and get some more consistent play under their belt. Hopefully the goaltending and defensive issues are worked on during practice over the next few days, because these two elements absolutely cannot fall apart at this point of the season. We are still hoping for a playoff series win after all, right? Thank you once again for joining me. I am Brunswick. This has been another episode of Project Panthers. Go Cats, go. Have a week.